A warm welcome and a good afternoon to Lentore in Kenya, where this afternoon we are starting off with our favorite baboon troop. And look at them. They seem very relaxed, enjoying well-deserved shady spot under that big thorn tree. Now, my name is Jaapie Potgieter and I'll be your host this afternoon. And, I was just about to say that let's hope that this will be an exciting afternoon, and the excitement started before I could get there. It was a very speedy retreat out of the frame of the camera there. Not sure exactly why, maybe I saw that big male baboon standing there on the left, just got up, or maybe one of the younger ones came too close. It's amazing that you have these moments of complete tranquility every now and again, and then you have these sudden bursts of energy. Just have a look, all relaxing with their arms draped over their knees, with their back towards the camera, except for the one drinking. You can see a little bit of a, seems like quite a jealous glance over his shoulder there to see if any of the younger males are moving in. I'm assuming there are quite a few females. It's in heat in this group at the moment, and the males do their rounds, and of course the younger males are also carefully watching. But very excited to see what's going to happen here this afternoon. Now, I know the other afternoon I had a question about what type of water baboons prefer to drink. And it's a very interesting question because baboons tend to occupy quite various different types of habitats, and throughout Africa we get 5 different types of baboons, or old world monkeys as they are also known, and they occupy different habitats, although there's a lot of overlap in terms of niche behavior in certain regions, and also the way that they utilize resources in terms of diet and so forth. We do find that sometimes, or baboons and monkeys, they tend to prefer quite clean, rather recently deposited water, like water, surface water, water that come from springs, natural springs, runoff from rain. So that's why when they do get the chance to have a rather fresh watering hole like this one that gets pumped, then they do tend to hug it a little bit, spend a lot of time around it. I mean, it is an oasis, especially in the heat and humidity of Kenya. But just have a look at that. Very proud big male baboon. Some females and lots of young ones. This troop is a shining example of a very successful troop. Now, we got some hellos from Harriet Hodgson. Good to hear from you, Harriet. And you saying hello to myself, to FC, to all the Wild Earth chatters. And you're saying hello from a warm and humid Cape Town. Talking about humidity. I'm very happy to hear that it's warm and humid. It's amazing to have been able to witness all the rain that South Africa's had over the last few days, like the last week. Over here in the eastern part of South Africa where I'm situated. Currently we've got a bit of a break for the weekend. It's windy, but I hear that next week we'll be back on with a bit of rain, and hopefully so. I know the rain can make matters slightly tricky, but it's very, very much needed. It's very, very welcomely received in this part of South Africa. Harriet, you're also saying you love watching this baboon troop. So do I. I've come to grown rather fond of them. They've been quite entertaining over the last few days. And they certainly act like they own this watering hole. The other day I was very surprised to see some zebra. And quite an interesting topic that popped up after the zebras in terms of subspecies and all the different species. It's amazing to think that there's such variety throughout Africa. Joan Mello, you're saying what a way to start with the baboons. I agree. What a way to start. Have a look. They're already in swing in character. And there's certainly some characters amongst them here. But just have a look. For the most part, they're sitting, you can see they're sitting right on the edge there. Other animals coming down to drink at this water. Oh, and that was, I believe, a hammerkop. Just took a fleeting glance across the frame of the camera there. Oh, there's a nice big yawn of that big male baboon there on the left. Let's have a look. Let's see what this female does. She briefly moved away and came back. Now it's quite interesting when those baboons, the big males, yawn like that. It's sometimes also just to show off those canines, a bit of a proud moment, show how big they are and their tools that they can use, the tools that they use to get to the top in terms of their social rank. The male baboons traveling from other troops, coming into a new troop that's got an existing hierarchy with its males as well as the females born into the troop. You often find that they start out by being very humble and assisting, and eventually, as time goes along, as they grow, through sitting spaced out like this and carefully watching the social interactions of all the other members of the troop, they gradually start forming their own little posses, and from there they tend to gradually climb the hierarchy. Have a look at that little baboon under the mother's belly. Very tiny little baboon, very dark fur, pink backside and face and hands and feet. Imagine how strong that.
Join me, Andrew Wistenholm, for an indescribable 6-night stay in the beautiful Albany of the Eastern Cape at Amakhala Game Reserve. Now this trip is going to be action-packed with a lot of storytelling, adventure, as well as the opportunity to make everlasting memories. We'll be exploring the best of Amakhala by staying at 2 luxury lodges, which will be the perfect blend of comfort as well as wilderness. Book your spot today and let's get ready to explore the wild beauty of Amakhala.
Every guide in Africa has been on an endless quest for the ultimate bush wear. Until now. Rugged Wear has a huge range of amazing bush gear for every wild situation. In the midday heat, those chilly winter mornings, in the storms of summer. Rugged Wear has the bush kit for every wild occasion. Locally made in South Africa, crafted with precision, stitched with quality.
We understand that not everybody has got spare pennies to rub together at the end of the month. We're introducing an initiative called Gift an Explorer.
So that those with lots of pennies can gift a Wild Earth Explorer access to those with fewer.
We're aiming for 250 gifts, but the more the merrier.
You can nominate a recipient or keep it anonymous.
It's a great way to share the Wild Earth mission with other nature lovers around the world.
Wild Earth Travel would like to take you to Namibia and Botswana. Drift over the desert in a hot air balloon, then glide through the lush Okavango Delta in a dugout canoe. This extraordinary journey blends dramatic landscapes with outdoor adventures and unparalleled wildlife encounters. Discover Africa like never before. Book now with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Very hot, just resting up, trying to seek the cooler spot. And that patch right next to the water, where some other animals come down to drink, where they spill water. All of that is quite a nice way to cool the area down. So you often find the baboons sit on the bare soil like that if it's in the shade. And then also up high like this, where the breeze can get to them. You can see the branches of that tree moving. Now I'm not sure exactly which type of thorn tree that is. It looks like a very large one, possibly a flat crown. Just judging from the general shape of the tree. Magnificent specimen. You can see, have a look at that baboon resting, and there's a little one sitting behind it. Always some of the troop up in the tree. Helps with the vigilance of the group, while some of the more senior members might be having their fun and social interactions down on the ground. And there are some still keeping an eye out. And have a look. Every now and again one of the baboons is coming up. Now it's interesting. Out of the 5 different species of baboons within Africa, they all occupy slightly different areas, and I know that some of them, especially those that occupy the more arid areas, they can be quite, or they can actually go without water for quite a bit. And they do get some moisture from their diet. Being an omnivore, they're quite well adapted to basically adapt to any situation, really. And it's often mostly the big males, like this guy drinking here on the left. You can see just carefully. Have a look at those bulges on his, just below the eyes on the long snout. Part of the muscles. The jaw muscles that extend all the way to the front, and then the pouches covering those big canines. Not a care in the world. Inspecting the back of the leg, and just have a look at that foot hand, essentially. That's what aids them. That's why they're such agile climbers. But while these baboons are sitting down here enjoying the shade, I heard we got some zebra over Tembe. So let's head over to Tembe and see what's happening there. Aha, And what a beautiful sight. A very green tembe with lots of full pans. We got a big elephant bull. We got a group of zebra in the background. Looks like two standing face to back end. Also quite, looks like it's very hot there, quite humid, I'm sure. You can see these animals are also just relaxing. Standing out in the open. It looks like there's a slight breeze going if I look at the water. Now look, the elephant just casually drinking some water, squirting out every now and again. Making sure that it's taking its time to drink the cleanest possible water. And have a look, there we go with the zebra. Now one of the theories suggests that the reason why they stand back to front like this is to use those tails, the tail of the other one. Mutual cooperation. Chances are these are two young stallions in a little group traveling together. It doesn't look like there's any competition today. More standing still. You can see the skin vigorously twitching and the tails going. So kind of a one tail wash the other situation. Penelope Kenyon, you're saying hello to Wild Earth, to me and to the Zoomies and to everybody watching. And you say Baboon Day again. Baboon Day, that is quite a nice way to start a Friday afternoon, getting us ready for the weekend. Baboon, zebra, and now elephant. Have a look at this beautiful elephant bull. Such a large, magnificent creature. You can see a very large skull. Broad base of the trunk with some beautiful tusks. Very sharp edged and well spaced. Lady Macbeth, you're saying that it's 28 degrees Celsius or 83 degrees Fahrenheit at Tembe, and you're sending some blanket greetings to everybody watching and everybody on Wild Earth. That's pretty amazing. Not sure how you'd know that, but I'm hoping that you might be there currently. I do know that that part of the country, even though it might be cooler in terms of temperature, the humidity certainly does its job, and it does provide these animals with some challenges to keep cool. I find that it often also brings about a relaxed mood in a lot of animals, especially the larger mammals. Have a look at that elephant. Kept some water in his trunk, and while he's walking away, just slowly squirting it in. The elephant's also got a anatomical feature known as a gullet pouch, which sits like kind of in the throat, and they often store water in there. But a very water dependent, though uniquely adapted animal. Also an animal that is found throughout in various habitats, from these more tropical habitats like we have here at Tembe, all the way through to deserts in northern Namibia. can see what he's doing there. He loosened up something. You can see he's carefully maneuvering it to the tip of his trunk. Such an amazing tool. I'm just gradually squirting small amounts of water in to be able to utilize it like that. But that, not sure what that is. It almost looks like soil. I can see a little bit of a plant there. And I do know occasionally you'll find that these animals would eat some soil for minerals, mineral intake in certain areas. But that's just a guess at this point. It might be something else.
We love all creatures in the African bush, from the biggest to the smallest, including the tiny little insects and arthropods. But some of them are not as charming as we'd like them to be. So that's why I trust peaceful sleep. And it lasts up to 8 hours too, so I can stay out longer, both at day and night, and not feel like I'm somebody's snack.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
Best sighting I've presented, I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala, we got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gowrie Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
Safari, wine, and waterfalls. The ultimate African adventure. Sip South Africa's finest wines. Experience a world-class safari among Africa's iconic wildlife. And stand in front of Victoria Falls, one of the natural wonders of the world. All this can be yours with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Amazing. That is a huge specimen indeed. Just look at him. I think from a distance, if I didn't have a good view, I might have even mistaken it for a small crocodile. You can see, ever vigilant as they are, the rock monitors, they generally have a slightly different color to, water monitor, excuse me, or Nile monitor as they're also known, because they were first described along the Nile. Some of the old European expeditions, but generally speaking, different color and different character to the rock monitor, even though he's laying on the rock here. These guys are usually near water. Very crafty, very clever reptiles these. And extremely powerful. You can see that extremely long tail with quite a sharp ridge protruding at the top, enabling it to swim very, very well. Very quick swimmers, very quick movers as well. And they've got those long claws to dig. But just look at him. Carefully found the one patch of sunlight running through the rails there. The rails and the construction of the bridge. And indeed, an animal that is regarded with respect throughout the region. Hated by the crocodile, but also feared, as well as all the birds and other smaller creatures. These guys are very crafty, and they have a preference for eggs often, and they do tend to, with their incredible sense of smell, and they do tend to carefully watch their surroundings, and as soon as they come across a nest that they discover, they will go and raid that nest, which often includes crocodile nests. Sandy Franklin, you saying good morning, wild earthlings, and you're saying it's your birthday today, so a very happy birthday to you, Sandy Franklin, and thank you for joining. And you're saying it's 17 degrees Fahrenheit. We're definitely sending you some warmth for your birthday. Some warmth from that lizard, even though it's quite overcast here in the Kruger Park. You can see that little patch of sun. Maybe that's why there's only a little bit there. He sent everything your way. And then Rebecca Bishop, you saying that the Nile monitor is a favorite of yours. Well, it's a fascinating creature. This particular specimen I can see is quite large, judging from its color. Generally, the older they get, the darker they become. You can still see, like on the flanks there, the markings, and generally as they're younger, they've got a distinct lighter color, usually like a light green and yellow type of color, and then gradually as they get older, these become darker and darker, and the markings become less easy to see. So this must be a very experienced, very clever Nile monitor, this. And it's carefully positioned itself near the sun, not full sun, but also near the water, not the deep water. So it's got an escape from the land as well as onto the land should something come from the water. Now this creature is regarded as a very, very clever creature, and it is. They do tend to show a very high degree of intelligence. Not something often regarded an inherent trait of reptiles, but then again you do find that some of the lizards are extremely clever. They have been around for a very, very long time. Now, what's also interesting about these creatures is they found quite widely throughout Africa. Basically, the only real areas that they're not found is in the deserts, and they're always near water, the waterways, so very adaptable. But they're also a creature that, believe it or not, is related to the largest lizard, the Komodo dragon, and other relatives, other monitor relatives. Australia's got some of them are, I know, like they have separated species. I don't know if it is 100% agreed upon in all scientific communities, but I do know that there is a West African species of Nile monitor. Used to be just one. But also something that's quite interesting, due to their intelligence and adaptability, these guys have also become quite a bit of a problem in some areas, like in the US, I believe, in Florida. Seems like Florida often have issues with invasive species. Wetlands, lots of wetland areas, very difficult to track the spread of invasives, and especially larger predators, medium and larger predators, they become problems very, very easily in non-native areas if there's nothing to control them. I've got a question from Miranda. Do they eat live birds when they find one? Yes, Miranda, indeed they will. They will definitely. If they can catch one, and I have actually seen one catch a live bird. Well, it was a young, it was a chick that's hatched, and it was got into a dead tree where the nest was, and from there it raided the nest and pulled out the chick. But indeed they do go after live birds, and if they can manage to somehow find the more mobile adults, they will most definitely eat them. I know they become serious pests in some areas and chicken coops, and because they're so crafty and clever, they can get in and they can get out quite easily and cause a lot of havoc. So they're not always regarded in such good light among certain chicken farmers, that's for sure. But just have a look now. The sun's moved slightly, and you can see it's moved towards the tip of the tail. Now he's been looking out quite a bit, you can see over his shoulder, and I'm sure there's a lot of insects landing nearby and flying off, and I'm sure he's also carefully watching that. But it would be nice to see him do a move. That's quite interesting. You can also see that right hand front foot of it with its very, very long claws. Also part of it of its arsenal of tools, specifically adapted for a resourceful creature like the Nile monitor, along with its serrated teeth. It's curved backwards. That makes it a formidable creature, formidable predator. And one of the largest lizards. What a nice view of it. Not often that you get to see one so relaxed. But while this monitor is enjoying whatever sunlight is left in that little patch, I think we should head over to Oldonyo, where we've got some giraffe. And indeed, we have giraffe. Let's have a look. Quick way to assess with giraffe often. You gotta have a better view. Is the horns. You can see that one there that's just come out from the left. Tiny little tips, fluffy at the top. Correct name, ossicones or ossicles. There's another one off to the right there, but the rest of them, they seem like they might be young males. Interesting to see the two stand in the water. And I've often wondered about that. I've noticed sometimes when giraffe tend to come down and drink near the water's edge. Now, right near the water's edge, there's a lot happening there. And you can see, even at this little pumped watering hole here, lots of birds moving up and down, going around and round. Of course, there's lots of insects moving up and down. So yeah, indeed. There's a lot happening, and sometimes biting flies. Flies that know when these animals come and they drink, they're often exposed. The softer areas around the face, the nose, you can see. And one's just standing in the water, relaxing with his feet. Maybe cooling down. Or maybe providing them with a little bit of relief from those biting flies. I know that areas close to the hooves are often targeted. But I find it interesting the different ways that animals spend this period of time during the middle of the day when it's so hot. The way they spend it and relaxing. And we call it relaxing, but technically they're preserving their energy. A large creature like a giraffe, of course, adapted to only eat plant material, needs a lot of it. Occasionally its diet gets supplemented by other things. And I know giraffes especially are known for chewing their bones, or bones. In some regions especially it might be more prevalent than others. But having said that, it's a lot of food that needs to be taken in a day to sustain such a large animal, or to get the necessary nutritional requirements. And of course, with the fertile soils in Eastern Africa, there is a lot of nutritional plant material available, like the thorn trees that giraffes are known to be feeding on. but it still means that they do need to spend quite a bit of time eating. And then they also, the animals that get around, they move quite a bit. They tend to be very social, gregarious, and if they do move through an area, they'll tend to join other giraffes in the area, but they do have some group structure. And through that they've got safety in numbers, which enables them to take a good rest during the middle of the day. And that's when they utilize the time to ruminate. As we can see the mouths of some of these moving. The very well known circular chewing motion. There's that giraffe on the right hand side. The other two is interested in something off to the left. Not sure exactly, but with giraffe it's difficult to say. They've got such a high vantage point. They can be seeing so far away. And it's not unusual to find a giraffe and just standing in the middle of nowhere, zoning out. I'm very happy to just be standing. You can see there's lots of birds coming and going. All those oxpeckers on the birds, on the giraffe, going up and down on the edge of the mane of these giraffes, and then all the way to the shoulders. They don't often go further down, while the giraffe is in a position where it can use its tail. That tail's got it's got a bit of length to it. I mean, it looks rather short comparatively, but it's still quite long, and it's got a very long, very sturdy, almost rubbery or plastic-like hair at the tail tip. Looks like a brush, but those quick movements, quick flicks from the tail, that gives that tail quite a bit of momentum and also impact when it hits the giraffe on the body. So the bird, often being a source of irritation with its sharp little claws moving up and down the body of the animal, will certainly want to stay away from that tail. And off they go. And there's another one there in the background, just casually strolling into the frame. You can see it looks like it's been quite busy around the watering hole today. Some birds hunting flying insects. The pan's quite full, so I don't think there's any blockage in this pan currently. And it was only a few days ago and it was quite green around here. You can see the grass have been cropped, the rocks are slightly more exposed. Interesting to notice that. And there's two giraffes necking each other right on the edge of the pan in the distance, which is quite interesting to see. They always look so small from here, and the distance here at Aldonio is certainly quite deceiving. That tree over there doesn't look very tall, but that is a very, very tall tree indeed. You can see there's the one giraffe feeding at the top of the thorn trees. Very likely in part the reason why these trees are cropped down like that. And let's see, might be moving over to the other two. So let's see. Interesting to also see giraffes feeding down with their head down like that. A lot of these shorter shrubs getting grazed down constantly. They are, of course, very they always have to regrow some of their leaves, especially at the top, and the giraffes are the only ones really able to access that. You can see just carefully stripping it off. And tiny little leaves on a lot of these thorn trees, so they grab mouthfuls as much as they can before moving on to the next. You can see now other giraffe off to the right hand side. It looks like it's much smaller. There's a little dip there, which is difficult to gauge all the way from the camera, but it looks like quite a significant dip. Harley K, you saying greetings from a sleepless soakhole. And then you asking, do giraffe males ever commit infanticide? Harley, that's a great question. I don't know. I've never thought about that. I would presume that under certain circumstances.
Join Wild Earth Travel on a unique nature adventure in the Greater Kruger Park. Legendary master tracker Renius Mhlongo leads a 4-day animal tracking experience in the Sabi Sand Nature Reserve. This experience offers a life-changing chance to track Africa's iconic animals on foot with a master of his craft. Renius is joined by Wild Earth presenter and expert storyteller Amy Krantz, and together they will connect you to Africa's wild heart.
Become a Wild Earth YouTube member today and unlock extras and bonuses, like ad-free streams so you can stay immersed in your safari without any interruption. Have your burning questions answered first by me or other expert naturalists. Join now to avoid missing out on these amazing benefits. Help us connect people to nature.
Welcome to Safari Spotlight. We'll be
And you pretend like you're a salesman, eh?
Got no idea what's going on in this reserve.
Expecting the unexpected.
Are we stuck down there?
What am I trying to do?
So we have another giant of Mabula.
That was incredible.
This is unbelievable.
It's going to be a spectacular afternoon.
Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Wild Earth Travel's newsletter is your passport to a magical journey. Explore exclusive travel options featuring special offers at stunning Wild Earth locations and all hosted by your favorite presenters. Don't miss out. Head over to our website and subscribe to the Wild Earth Travel newsletter today and stay in the know on all our unforgettable adventures. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Amazing. Beautiful big elephant bull against a Mupani backdrop. Now, for those of you that joined not too long ago, a few days ago, when we were watching some dwarf mongoose here in this beautiful Mopani woodland here at Elephant Pan. I mentioned, or I might have mentioned, that the Mopani woodland is one of my favorite in South Africa, or Southern Africa for that matter. Certainly one of my favorite habitats. A very, very unique habitat. The symbol of true wilderness within Southern Africa. Now I'm not sure what this elephant is eating, but it almost looks like he might also be eating soil. And I don't know. I'm taking a guess here. It might also be seeds or seed pods. It's at the bottom of the pan. But amazing to see this transformation after the rains. If it is soil that this elephant's eating, it's quite coincidental that we saw 2 elephants this afternoon, and maybe it has got something to do with the time of the year or all the recent rains throughout the region. Now, might be various reasons for animals eating soils, and it'll depend on different regions, but there's often certain areas might be lacking certain soil types or minerals within their soils, and that will prompt animals to eat soils due to the fact that they might not be getting enough of a certain mineral within their diet from the plant material that they're eating. Now I can't see what that is from where I am. And I'm quite curious to know exactly what that is, because it doesn't look like soil. I would imagine that it would be mud coming from the bottom of the pan, and that looks like rather solid pieces of something. Maybe it's... what is that? Didn't like that one, whatever it was. It's amazing to watch an elephant, like, always knowing what to find. Yes, potentially they can develop rather bad eating habits, and elephants tend to, where they get access to easy food, especially in areas where there's a lot of encroachment within natural areas and small-scale farming. You find sometimes that elephants might move out of protected areas to actively go and seek out the maize fields of certain farmers or citrus farms. And some areas where there's citrus farms near the edges of protected areas, that's often a space that draws some of the more adventurous elephants out of the protected area to go and explore. But what I do find amazing is how these animals tend to know when they're lacking something in their diet. It's amazing to think how in tune these creatures are. how in tune they are with the way their physical being functions and how reliant it is upon the natural habitat that they find themselves in. Penelope Kenyon, you saying that this is becoming your favorite watering hole. That's very good to hear. I have to say I am thoroughly enjoying this watering hole. I think it's just such a unique watering hole in terms of, well, it's got some excellent elephant sightings, but it also provides us a chance to get a bit of a better view of the Mopani habitat, which makes up a lot of the wild spaces in southern Africa, northern Botswana, Zimbabwe, the northeastern part of South Africa, northern Namibia, good elephant areas. I know that there's even been some studies conducted to try and see the relation between the genetics of big-tusked elephants in relation to the occurrence of Mopani. Mopani also being a very water-wise tree, and a tree that could potentially be viewed as a marker for global warming or climate change. A tree that's very well adapted to very arid, dry areas with not a lot of surface water. They might start to migrate a little bit further south as the climate changing. But just look at that, unbelievably beautiful. Very, very adaptable tree. This kind of developed with elephants, it seems. You can see there the elephant going after the Mopani leaves further up, a little bit higher. Animals probably very aware that the Mopani does have quite a bit of tannin in it. The tannin levels are extremely high. You can see those leaves there on the background off to the right with the orangey tinge. Mopani is quite known for turning a very beautiful deep copper color once they dry out in the autumn and the dry season. And they're also known for trees that keep their leaves until quite late in the season, and they are still high in protein. For large creatures like the elephant, that makes them very, very useful. Elephants also some of the few animals that can tolerate the higher tannin levels to an extent. But we can see there's, as the newer leaves come out, they're usually very, very pale green, beautiful pale green. They almost look plastic. But before the chloroplasts form properly, the high tannin levels the tree puts in to protect them gives them this reddish tinge. What a beautiful elephant bull. He's certainly exploring the edge of this watering hole very carefully. Probably for things that might have been washed down from throughout this habitat and settled down at the bottom of this watering hole. Then we've got a question from Sandy Franklin. So Sandy Franklin is asking if elephants ever eat meat. Sandy,
We love all creatures in the African bush, from the biggest to the smallest, including the tiny little insects and arthropods, but some of them are not as charming as we'd like them to be. So that's why I trust peaceful sleep. And it lasts up to 8 hours too, so I can stay out longer, both at day and night, and not feel like I'm somebody's snack.
Become a Wild Earth YouTube member and unlock exclusive bonuses and benefits. Enjoy uninterrupted, ad-free streams so you can stay immersed in nature. Have your burning questions answered first by me or other expert naturalists. Enjoy exclusive access to special broadcasts and videos, and help us to connect people to nature.
My full name is Mpho Muthusi Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed said to dog. Okay, no, it's my first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was this Cedric when we had Muluwati and TP on a warthog kill. I think we have to cut it.
We are thrilled to announce our new exclusive feature for YouTube members and explorers. Join us live every Tuesday for our sunrise and sunset safaris. Experience Tawny Tuesday like never before with up-close encounters and breathtaking moments. Don't miss out. Become a YouTube member or explorer today and immerse yourself in the heart of the bush. See you Tuesday.
What a beautiful, beautiful scene. For a moment there I thought that elephant got a bit of a fright from the Egyptian goose I see under the dead Mupani there to the left. Oh, he's definitely paying attention. They were flying and chasing each other as they do. And this elephant was so immersed in its own comfortable space that it's probably more a realization that there's something else around than anything else. However, I think we are going to leave this elephant enjoying this Mupani woodland and all its treats, and we'll head over to Old Donyo again. Where, amazingly, we've got two other big elephant bulls. From an elephant bull in Botswana to two big elephant bulls in Kenya. Same animal, different region. Completely different habitat. And something I do find fascinating is the way the different habitats and ecology of an area affects animals' behaviors. Very much from the ground up. Type of soils, well, the type of rocks determine the type of soils, and the inherent minerals and composition determines the vegetation that grows there, which is used by the plant-eating animals or herbivores. Of course, from that they would take their nutrition, and depending on the makeup there might be a lack of or an abundance of certain minerals. Of course, it's not only a lack of minerals that affects animal nutrition, it's also too much. For instance, I know in some cases too much calcium in a diet, especially for elephants, could very much prohibit the uptake of other minerals. Now I can see that elephant's got a bit of a groove there on its left hand tusk, right at the tip, reflecting the sunlight. I wonder what that would be from. I know that these grooves in the elephant's tips, tusk tips, are often from repeated use. Occasionally scratching it or dragging it along a fence line or something, some other man-made structure. Sometimes used as an indicator of a troublemaker in certain regions. I'm not saying this elephant is a troublemaker. But it is a very, very beautiful bull, this. And let's see what he's digging out of the water today. Maybe he's just got his trunk there at the water inlet. Maybe he was just looking for some mud and realized that there's not much down at the bottom there. So just cooling down with some water. Targeting the vital areas. Below the belly, between the legs, behind the ears, on the shoulder. There we go. That's a beautiful view of this animal's tusks. You can see it's cleanly stripped within that groove. Not sure what that would be of. I mean, it might also have been something in the elephant's not too distant past. That's brought about conditions for it to use its tusks to the extent that those grooves developed. But I do know in certain parts of Africa, of course, with space being limited for wildlife and for people, we often find that there is quite a lot of interaction that can occasionally lead to conflict, but some of these animals do tend to move outside of the protected areas in search of alternative resources, and that would mean that occasionally a large animal like an elephant would go through a man-made structure or a fence, even though in East Africa generally protected areas are not really fenced. Oh, what a beautiful elephant. Have a look, quite a proud stance, very big head. You can see those very high shoulders right at the top. For the most part, except in that position where it's lifting the head, that top of the shoulders are taller than what the top of the head is. And then that well-known arched spine, specifically designed to carry the weight of such a large animal. And they do look quite awkward in their stances like this when they stand quite comfortably. but it's all to do with distributing their very, very heavy weight throughout the skeletal structure and making sure that they take no strain.
Seven nights on safari during the magnificent green season. The rains have stopped, the land is emerald, and there are wild babies everywhere. Meet your favorite presenters.
This is amazing.
And create unforgettable memories on this once-in-a-lifetime adventure.
Thank you for coming along on this little adventure.
The Green Season Grand Tour, only with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive. Join the Wild Earth YouTube superfan community and unlock a world of additional perks. Get exclusive early access or discounts to Wild Earth travel deals. Wear the best bush attire with merchandising discounts. Enjoy an interactive live monthly private safari. Don't miss out on the ultimate fan experience. Join the YouTube superfan community today. Wild Earth Travel would like to take you to Namibia and Botswana. Drift over the desert in a hot air balloon, then glide through the lush Okavango Delta in a dugout canoe. This extraordinary journey blends dramatic landscapes with outdoor adventures and unparalleled wildlife encounters. Discover Africa like never before. Book now with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
They are sick or that they have a disease, but they often have quite a lot of intestinal issues, and they have quite a lot of digestive tract related issues, which can develop due to diet or human impact on the environment affecting their diets. They might suffer quite a lot of injuries that might heal up but have long-term effects. Some of them struggle with eyesight later on. But I do know that they do have quite a lot of wear and tear on the body throughout their life, being such large animals, so I am not surprised if that skeletal structure takes a lot of a beating towards the end of the life, of an elephant, which would entail the elephant gradually becoming weaker and weaker. That, along with the fact that it loses its teeth. They do occasionally also develop abscesses in the mouth and around the molars, which would definitely affect their ability to eat and their health and therefore their condition. And with a lot of wild animals, there's a very definite point where the lack of nutrition it gets to a point where there's no return for them almost. So yeah, I'm sure they do. Exactly what, it would be difficult to say. I think it would also be quite area dependent. And the genetic pool within different areas. I know at one point there was quite a bit of cases. I think there was a few, I can't remember how long ago, but in Zimbabwe where they found that the elephants suffered from something called floppy trunk disease. I know it sounds ridiculous, it sounds like it's made up, but it's not. It was something to do with around, if I remember correctly, around Kariba Dam in Zimbabwe, where elephants started eating a plant that suddenly became quite numerous within the area. Or at least that was a suspicion. I don't actually know if they ever came to a conclusion what exactly it was. But whatever it was affecting the central nerve that runs down the trunk. And the elephant gradually started developing a limp trunk from the front backwards. And they found that a lot of elephants passed away due to the fact that they couldn't drink water that way, especially the larger elephants in areas where there wasn't a lot of deep water or massive amounts of surface water available. So, often environmentally dependent, but very interesting. There's a long list, I'm sure, of animal diseases that pertains mostly to elephants. Quite an interesting topic maybe to read up about more. And then I've got a question from Miles. Miles is asking, what are some of the things you would advise someone going on their first self-drive safari? Miles, that is a very good question. And I can definitely start by listing a whole bunch of things as usual. But I do think that personally what I would suggest is more to, before you start with a self-drive safari, of course, depending on where you're going, you need to make sure that your vehicle is in check and that you won't run into problems. But other than that, I would suggest making a bit of a mindset change in terms of how you approach the situation. I do know that a lot of people that travel have a so-called wish list of animals that they would like to tick off and explore. Have a look at that. Looks like something, not sure, a bit of chewed material, plant material, probably from the elephant's mouth. That's fallen down there. Just have a look at those feet. It's actually interesting to see how those toes are spreading over that uneven surface. And a clear view of the toenails. But to get back to Miles's question, I would suggest going and getting into the mindset that it's not about ticking off boxes. It's not about trying to see all the animals that you want. Like, it's essentially always a journey, and well, any safari, and it's got to be approached with an open mindset, not to go chase animals down. And I think all too often people tend to forget that. And they go on a package somewhere where they can tick off as much of the big five or the large, well-known animals, and then they never come back. And yeah, I think that's quite sad. Just coming to Africa once and then going, never coming back. I would suggest coming again and again. Or even if you're from Africa, just traveling around Africa. There's always areas to go revisit, and I think you can still keep a list, but keep it to the point where one doesn't have to constantly tick off a box and rather explore, rather enjoy it for what it is. Watch the behavior. Animals are interesting creatures to watch, and they shouldn't just be regarded as something that should be ticked. They should be carefully observed to try and understand a little bit more of how they fit into the environment and how integrated they are with the environment, which might give one a greater appreciation for the environment that you find yourself traveling towards to actually get to see these animals. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have the wild spaces that these animals live in, we won't have anything. The wild spaces is, of course, the first and foremost, the most important. Space is limited. Everything needs it. In some areas, animals can be brought back. Of course, it's not something. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any animals in an area, but I think if you broaden your scope as to what you aim to see and enjoy, then you might be able to gain more from your experience. And then, of course, if you're not sure what to do at any point of the day, you can always bird. Start birding if you're not birding. I think it's a great way to get to know and explore an area, see different areas, birding, botany. If you like insects. But just look at how compliant this elephant's been.
We love all creatures in the African bush, from the biggest to the smallest, including the tiny little insects and arthropods, but some of them are not as charming as we'd like them to be. So that's why I trust peaceful sleep. And it lasts up to 8 hours too, so I can stay out longer, both at day and night, and not feel like I'm somebody's snack.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
My full name is Emojis. Best part of my job is coming to see nature. Worst part of my job is logging. That's the worst thing ever, because you have to log amount of footage. You sit in front of that computer and yeah, you think of deleting the footage, but no, they need the footage. If I want a camel, probably a soccer player. I know some people don't believe me, but I'm very good, I'm very fast.
Step into the heart of Africa from the comfort of your home.
Female leopard tracks over here.
Join our expert guides for a live 3-hour safari where every moment is real, unscripted, and unforgettable. Ask questions.
Animals rely on their senses.
Share your thoughts and be part of the experience as we explore together. Safari Live. Safari, wine, and waterfalls. The ultimate African adventure. Sip South Africa's finest wines. Experience a world-class safari among Africa's iconic wildlife. And stand in front of Victoria Falls, one of the natural wonders of the world. All this can be yours with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
the whole situation surrounding the natural resources, of which water is arguably one of the most important, if not the. Not just for animals, but also ourselves. Wildlife lady, you saying it's a magnificent elephant bull. Indeed it is. It is a spectacular animal. Now he's had a very, very long drink, this guy. More a cooling down, a resting bit right at the water's edge. I think he couldn't ask for anything more, but these animals are quite well adapted for spending time out in the heat. Oh, certainly don't have to worry about skin cancer, for one. Just have a look now, he's covering that last little bit at the top of his back. Or trying to, it looks like. But I can imagine in the current climate there at El Doño, I'm pretty sure that bit of water and mud probably evaporates quite quickly. And he's had enough to feed on, I'm sure, in the earlier part of the day, and he will continue again later part of the day. Elephants, yeah, they do eat quite frequently and throughout the day. They spend very little time resting. Sometimes these big bull elephants, you'll find them resting up during the middle of the day in a shady patch somewhere near a watering hole, or near a tree, or near an area with good food. You can see it's almost like he gets quite lazy for a moment. He tends to forget that he is enjoying the cool water, and then kind of almost dozes off and then comes back and reminds himself that he needs to splash some water on him. Raw. That's a very interesting name. So we've got a question from Raw, and Raw's saying good afternoon to you too, Raw. How hot do you think it could be at El Doño? Oof, Raw, I don't know. That is a very good question. I have no idea. I guess the best way to have a look is maybe check and see on a weather app, if I can find something for that. And what I can find on the app that I'm using is I can find El Doño in Kenya, and it says currently it's clear cloudless sky and it's 30 degrees Celsius. Right on the dot. It also states that it had a minimum today of 15 degrees Celsius, and what's more amazing is that the forecast pretty much seems to be consistent at a average of 29 to 30 degrees Celsius for the next week. Very, very interesting question, Raw. Fascinating, actually. People tend to forget often how important weather is to game viewing, and I mean, we think about how weather affects our own movements and our own things in a day. Like, it is, of course, very, very important for game viewing to see animals move like that. This morning, for instance, I was heading out, taking my daughter to school, and along the way it was a little bit rainy. Like now the weather's broken a little bit and it looks like there's some sun coming out, but it was quite interesting. It was we had a lion, a male lion, walking on the road on the way out, and the most beautiful part about it is that he was on a mission. He was moving so quickly, clearly had something, a determined goal that he needed to reach, and it looked like he was looking for other lions from the way he was moving. He wasn't hunting or anything, and I'm pretty sure that if it wasn't that cool and that rainy, he probably wouldn't have been as determined or moving as quickly. But now there's a giraffe that's come into the background, and spoke a little bit about the tail earlier. But we got a question from Ivan, and Ivan's asking, do giraffe vertebrates extend into the tail, or are they more of a muscular appendage? They, funnily enough, Ivan, they've only got 7 neck vertebrae, but the vertebrates do extend into the tail like most other animals, even if it's just a little bit, and then the last stretch of the tail is mostly muscle, but there's definitely some vertebrates that go into the tail like most tailed animals, and that's what is attached to the nerves and the muscles and gives it the movement. Very, very important part, a tail with long tail, hairy tips. Is a great tool in helping animals. It also aids in their hygiene. It's a way to keep flies away, biting flies, also parasites. And then I've got a comment from Picasso. Picasso saying that he once saw a giraffe outside of his house bending down and looking at something on the ground, like it was drinking, but it was looking at something crawling on the ground. That is pretty interesting, Picasso. That's a very fascinating sighting, and not unheard of, but I'm very happy that you happened to notice that it was looking at something crawling. Giraffes are very curious, and they often have a look at things that that move about, that they're unsure about. Giraffes are also the type of creatures that I would not ignore. I know on one of the reserves that I worked at, there was a tracker that always said that you should never ignore a giraffe stare, and I've on numerous accounts had a look at what giraffes were looking at, and then you'd find a predator or something concealed, something that you wouldn't have seen or found otherwise. But on one of these reserves, this tracker, the reason why I said that is they were watching a giraffe staring at something from a game drive one day and intently in one direction. And after a while, what they've realized is that this giraffe was staring at a pangolin. And they wouldn't have found this pangolin, considered by some to be the holy grail on safari, without the aid of a giraffe. So yeah, very curious creatures. If they're unsure about something, they tend to stare for a long time. I mean, they might also just stare at something small moving, but still, can't be ignored. Sandy Franklin, you saying it's 15 degrees Fahrenheit in Tennessee. That sounds exceptionally cold. Compared to what it's like here, even if it's and in El Doño, even if it is overcast in South Africa. And then Sandy, you're also asking how my daughter feels about being so close to lions, and how are local children taught to protect themselves. That's a very good question, the second part of your question. My daughter at this stage, she is lucky that she grows up with animals, and therefore we teach her the right respectful ways from a young age in terms of their personal space, approaching, and how to act around them. But she seems to have a good understanding that they are not a danger to her if we just observe at the right distance.
Join Wild Earth Travel on a unique nature adventure in the Greater Kruger Park. Legendary master tracker Renius Mhlongo leads a 4-day animal tracking experience in the Sabi Sand Nature Reserve. This experience offers a life-changing chance to track Africa's iconic animals on foot with a master of his craft. Renius is joined by Wild Earth presenter and expert storyteller Amy Krantz, and together they will connect you to Africa's wild heart. South Africa's wild places are closer than you think, because Federal Airlines brings them to you. From the calm of our FedAir lounge to the smooth boarding of our trusted fleet, we take care of the journey so you can enjoy the adventure. Our flights go beyond the ordinary, connecting you to South Africa's most remote and extraordinary locations. Federal Airlines, your gateway to the South African wild. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Wild Earth Travel's newsletter is your passport to a magical journey. Explore exclusive travel options featuring special offers at stunning Wild Earth locations, and all hosted by your favorite presenters. Don't miss out. Head over to our website and subscribe to the Wild Earth Travel newsletter today and stay in the know on all our unforgettable adventures. Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Head back over to Tembe to see if there's elephants there as well. And we have some zebra. Now we've got quite a few. And a lot of different swallows or birds flying low over the ground there. I can imagine after all of this rain there's a lot of flying insects. I've seen a lot of beetles, flies, small grasshoppers everywhere, and locusts. So I'm sure these, and then of course there's also some other flying ants and the little beetles. And I think these birds, that's very difficult to say from where I am currently what they are, but I'm pretty sure those might be barn swallows. And just have a look at it. All these elephant diggings are filled up with puddles of water. Just have a look at that. Not often, I don't actually recall seeing zebra here before at Tembe. Well, at the watering hole. I've seen zebra at Tembe. Plain zebra. Plain zebra in and amongst the sand forest of Maputo land. Two beautiful specimens. Looks like two stallions possibly. And look at the difference in their stripes. The shadow stripes are way more pronounced than the other one, and the shadow stripes being those light brown faded stripes in and amongst the very prominent black stripes. Now, two things. First of all, there's a question I missed earlier from Azure Jewel, who was asking what the volcano, or if it's a volcano in the background of Oldonyo, and that is Kilimanjaro, if I'm not mistaken. Africa's highest point. So not an active volcano, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, an ancient volcano. And then I just want to remind our viewers of a very exciting travel opportunity with Wild Earth. It will be the Live at the Watering Hole travel. It will be track and trails with Amy Krantz and Renias Mhlongu. It will be from the 23rd to the 30th of September 2025, and there's only 4 spots left. It will only be a group of 6. You'll be able to embark on the tracks and trails experience, and you'll delve into the ancient art of animal tracking. Very, very exciting stuff. It's in partnership with Tracker Academy, and for 4 days you'll be with one of the most legendary Shangaan trackers, Renias Mhlongu. And Renias is one of the last traditional Shangaan trackers in the area, and he's known for his experience, and he was quite instrumental back in the day for the habituation process with the leopards in the Sabi Sands. And this is whether you're a nature lover or an adventurer, and Renias's knowledge promises to be unparalleled. Then there is also something I would like to share on the 21st of February. It is the Leaving Djuma fireside chat, and Wild Earth will be having a look back during this fireside chat on some of the most memorable highlights from our time at Djuma. It'll be hosted by James Henry, and it'll be on the 23rd, so Sunday, at 7 p.m. Central African Time, and it'll be straight after the Sunset Safari. And it'll be open to everybody on the Wild Earth channel. And then a very, very exciting and very important announcement is that Wild Earth has started the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, and it is the non-profit arm, and it's dedicated to showcasing nature conservation stories that inspire conservation and the human-nature connection. And you can check it out on the website for more information. And this also, one of the ways we were talking about the importance of education for young kids, and what a great way to bring nature to people that doesn't always have the opportunity to witness it firsthand, or at least not regularly. And especially for young people, it can be very, very educational and inspiring. But what an amazing view we have here at Tembe.
We love all creatures in the African bush, from the biggest to the smallest, including the tiny little insects and arthropods, but some of them are not as charming as we'd like them to be. So that's why I trust peaceful sleep. And it lasts up to 8 hours too, so I can stay out longer, both at day and night, and not feel like I'm somebody's snack.
Every guide in Africa has been on an endless quest for the ultimate bush wear. Until now, Rugged Wear has a huge range of amazing bush gear for every wild situation. In the midday heat, those chilly winter mornings, in the storms of summer. Rugged Wear has the bush kit for every wild occasion. Locally made in South Africa, crafted with precision, stitched with quality.
My name is Takudzwa Panda Msesani. My scariest moment is when it happened twice. The other time I was with Cedric, and the other time I was with Steve. And all those times, it was a black mamba. My favorite meal in camp is gonna be burger and chips.
We are thrilled to announce our new exclusive feature for YouTube members and explorers. Join us live every Tuesday for our sunrise and sunset safaris. Experience Tawny Tuesday like never before, with up-close encounters and breathtaking moments. Don't miss out. Become a YouTube member or explorer today and immerse yourself in the heart of the bush. See you Tuesday.
Not made to be ridden. What I have seen in South Africa in some areas in the past, I mean, this was when I was very young, I haven't seen in the recent years, is occasionally you have the hybrids of donkeys and zebras, or zonkies, as they might be known by some. And in one or two cases, zebras that grew up in captivity, pulling horse carts or donkey carts. But never seen anybody riding a zebra. And I don't think it would work either. They've got a rather weak back, not made to carry anything. What's interesting though is, talking about donkeys and donkey carts, is back in the day people often used donkeys or mules to smuggle ivory out of certain areas, especially in southern Africa. And they were just easier to manage, and they were a little bit more robust against tsetse fly and other diseases. So slow and steady did the work. Now this is where I find zebras quite interesting. Like, they're very beautiful, and all these patterns play a little with one's eyes if you look at them straight on. But what happens on occasions is they tend to gradually migrate towards each other like this when they're feeding, and then what happens is, when they get too close, the combination of the heat, the biting flies, and suddenly being right up against a neighboring zebra makes the tensions rise. And then if it's a group of all males, you sometimes see a little bit of competition happening. And just have a look at that. Of course, as these zebras are moving about like this, they are also making a lot of these little insects and creatures moving about in the grass. Nice thick grass cover here. The soils in Maputoland have quite a high grass yield, and these areas are able to support quite a lot of herbivores. But of course, with it being nutritious and being more tropical, there's a lot of insect diversity and also density. And way better than these open spaces near the watering holes. Lots of animal dung, elephant dung. All of these attract a whole bunch of flying insects that attracts the birds. Now, from what I can see and what I saw there, it looked like it was barn swallows mostly. I'm pretty sure there might be some other special birds in and amongst these flocks that I won't be able to identify at this rate, at the speed that they're going. But it's, even though it's quite a relaxed atmosphere here around Tembe, it's also quite busy at the same time. Have a look at how those two Egyptian geese are feeding in unison. There we go. Even an oxpecker. The only creature not feeding in this picture. And looks like he looks a little bit alone. Looks like he lost his friends. I only see the one for now. There might be more. And I never actually thought about it earlier, but that might also be what these zebras are biting at towards the back at points. There we go. There's a bit of a scratch there on the head. It always looks so funny when the animal turns back and uses its back leg. Just look at all of those birds flying there. That is incredible to witness. Occasionally some of them might perch. I've often noticed across certain smooth surface tar roads you do find occasionally that the birds perch in quite large flocks or on a nearby small shrub with exposed branches to easily take off. They got very small, not so prominent little feet. Not really, even though they're a perching bird, you can see they spend a lot of time on the wing, and obviously adapted to be excellent flyers. Spasiankov, you saying thank you so much for today's show. Very happy that you enjoyed it, Spas. Good to see you back. And commenting, always happy to see what's happening at the watering holes. Dark Main Lover, you saying thank you to Wild Earth, Africam, thank you to me, and for the great live at the watering show. And have a fantastic day and take care. Thank you. Same to you, and same to all our other viewers that joined us this afternoon. It has indeed been eventful, but you can only imagine if you start off with the baboon troop at Lentore, it will definitely be exciting. And there's a lot happening, even when there's not. I think that's the best part about any wilderness space. There's always a lot happening. So, from me and all of us at Wild Earth, I'm going to say a good afternoon to you, and I hope that you join us again tomorrow afternoon to see what will be happening around the watering holes then.